All right, everybody. Welcome in to the well, I guess it's really the first episode. I mean, I really don't have a name for this. The Detroit Lions debate table. We've done one of these before, but today I'm with one guest that you guys have seen before in Right or Wrong, and I'm with a new guest, Tyler, aka Lionsnation from Instagram. So I'll throw it over to Tyler first. Tyler, how you doing today, man?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Thank you for having me on, man.
Absolutely, man. It's good to have you. Excited to have you over here. And then we have Right or Wrong back, the kind of new Detroit Lions YouTuber. Right or Wrong, how's it going?
Pretty good. I'm excited to talk some Lions talk. I always enjoy talking Lions, so I'm ready to have some fun today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, so it looks like we got the chat popping a little bit. I see Believe the Hype. First one in the building. We got Shane, we got Gibson, Bailey, Gridiron Buns. Okay. Hey. Uh okay, yeah, we got a couple people popping in here. So we're just gonna get right into the questions or the topics right away. You guys feel free to just chime in with the chat and you guys as well, who were talking to me. So let's just stop right into the first one, man. The first thing we're gonna be discussing is Matthew Stafford's contract. So Matthew Stafford's contract is through the year 2020. The Lions may have a potential out after the season, but the question is, after Matthew Stafford's contract ends, does he look for another team or does he stay with the Detroit Lions? So I'll throw it over to our new guy, Lions Nation. Tyler first. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely interesting. I think it all depends, honestly, where the Lions are. So let's say hypothetically, let's say the Lions go 5-11. I mean, let's hope now that doesn't happen, obviously. But let's say it's a bad year for the Detroit Lions. They go a whole new regime change. They fire Matt Patricia. They fire Bob Quinn. They fire the whole staff essentially. I think at that point, with the new regime they would be bringing in, this is all hypothetically, obviously, I could see, I would imagine, actually, I would be more shocked if they stuck with Matthew Stafford than trying to draft the guy at that point. I think you either trade Matthew Stafford, who would be a lot more tradable in a contract year, or you could keep him for the year and have your rookie QB kind of ride the bench for the year, just depending on how the season goes and who you get, if they're ready or not, and just like it all depends there. So I think it really depends, where Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn are in the equation. If they're still in the equation, they're still in the question, then, I think they ride with Stafford, because I think at that point they're trying to win. But if it falls down, it's a new culture. I think we're looking at a rebuild in Detroit potentially. So with the rebuild, I don't think Matthew Stafford would earn another contract from Detroit. And with that being, I would think he would either be traded in his contract year or they'll just ride it out. And, he'll choose a new destination in the offseason of 2022. So it just really depends of how this year goes. Honestly, it's a big question.
Yeah, I made some really good points there. I agree with a lot of things you said. So I'm going to throw it over to Right or Wrong. What do you got to say about that?
Yeah, when does Stafford's contract get up? 2 years from now? So after the 2021 season, right?
2022 season is the last one, I believe.
Okay. I mean, that's a ways out. I mean, he's on the wrong side of 30 now. By then he'll be, close to 35. So I think that, in the next couple of years, I think that we need to bring in a young quarterback, then, maybe sit behind Matthew Stafford for a year or two, and then, when his contract is up, we can just get rid of him, move right on to the next, right onto the successor. And, that's not a very Lions thing to do. We haven't done that before. And I think if they want to be a contender, they got to be like the Packers, be like the Patriots, and go right from one great quarterback to another. So I do think that I don't think he'll be back after his contract ends, but I think it's because we have the successor to Matthew Stafford at that point.
Okay. I like that. That's a good point. The a new quarterback for the Detroit Lions to have after Matthew Stafford is gone, because at some point, unfortunately, that will happen. So so I kind of want to segue then with that same question. So I'm going to throw it over to you, Tyler, first. This isn't one of our questions, but with that, do you think the Detroit Lions will draft a high quarterback maybe next year or the year after?
Again, I think it just matters how the season goes this year. If they have a high pick, let's say hypothetically they're picking top 10 or top 5, then yeah, I can definitely see them going after one of those guys like Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, the one guy from North Dakota, what the hell, Trey Lance, that's his name. Maybe they go after one of those guys, hypothetically. But if we're having another top 5 or top 10 pick, I have to assume Matt Patricia is not the coach of the team right now. So that would mean a new regime. So yeah, I could see us drafting a quarterback in the top 10 in 2021 if we were in that position. But if we're a team that, let's say, goes 9-7, let's say 10-6, or even 8-8 potentially, I don't think they'll be in the position to draft the quarterback in the first round. So It just really depends of where the organization stays with Matt Patricia or they decide to part ways with Matt Patricia. So I think there's a lot riding on this season, and how it goes.
Yeah, I completely agree. Right or wrong, you got something?
I mean, I agree with what Tyler said, but even outside the big guys like Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, there's other guys like Jamie Newman, Tanner Morgan from Minnesota. There's a lot of quarterbacks and really good quarterbacks coming out in this draft class. So I feel like even if we don't have a super high pick, we could still get a very quality quarterback in the first round. But I do think that we, in the next year or two, draft a quarterback very high to take over from Matthew Stafford for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with what both of them said. I think it definitely does have to come down to what Matt Patricia and what the Lions do in the next couple of years. That really comes down to whether or not they will bring Matthew Stafford back after his contract is up or not. So we'll just hop them right into the next topic. And this is one that you guys seem to really want to see for some reason, but it is looking at some of the Lions' previous seasons and I guess comparing them to see which one you would take, which one you guys maybe think is the best. And those 3 seasons are the 2011 season where the Lions were 10-6, 2014 season, the Lions finished 11-5, and this upcoming season. So which of those teams, I guess, would you think is the best team, maybe on paper, maybe of the 3 teams if they play it head to head? So I'm going to throw it over to Right or Wrong first. You can maybe give your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, the 2014 team was the best team the Lions have put out in the last 2 decades or so. I mean, it was a playoff team, obviously, going 11-5. I mean, this team was stacked from top to bottom. They had so many superstars, so many good players. So I don't think the 2020 team is quite there yet, but I do think on paper the 2020 team is a very complete team. I talked about this last night on the DSA roundtable, but there's not a whole lot of holes in this roster. I mean, maybe a guard spot and maybe a depth at a couple spots, but I mean, there's not a whole lot of holes in this roster. So I think that this team could definitely contend and be up there with the 2011 and 2014 team for sure.
Yeah, I like that. I like to have the confidence for the 2020 season. I want to say 2020 for sure. Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's 2020, but I'm not going to get my hopes up just in case it's not. But, I think 2014, it's going to be hard to mimic what they did. That defense was unstoppable. And, that main part of that defense that was so unstoppable was that amazing run defense with Ndamukong Suh and DeAndre Levy at linebacker. I mean, it was just amazing. Everyone on the defensive line was playing great. And I can't say that about this team. I can't say this front seven is going to be able to stop the run like that 2014 Lions or get to the quarterback like that 2014 Lions. I mean, right now we're relying on a lot of questions. Danny Shelton had a good year, but then you look aside him from at the 3-tech spot, the defensive tackle. I mean, I don't know what to really expect. Deshaun Hand is coming in year 3, who had an injury bug sophomore season, had a pretty good rookie year. They bring in Nick Williams from the Chicago Bears, who had a really good year last year, but before that, he's been in the league for about 6-7 years, and he never put a sack up in his whole career. So I'm not going to, say the talent right now on the front seven is better than 2014. I can't say that. That's so many question marks. And then we look at the Lions defensive back room, which has a lot of potential to be really good with, Desmond Trufant, obviously drafting Jeff Okudah in the top 5. But another question, Jeff Okudah's not taking 1 snap in the NFL. We lost Darius Slay. Desmond Trufant's coming off an injury. So do I think it could be better than 2014? I mean, hell yeah, it could be better than 2014. I mean, we'll see. But I can't just say right now on July 1st that we're going to be better than that 11-5 season or that 10-6 season in 2011 because we have so many question marks that we have to figure out first before I could say that. So I got to see it to believe it first. So if I'm choosing a team that I would take to win, I guess I would choose the 2014 Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I agree with both of what you guys had to say. I agree with Right or Wrong and Tyler here. Definitely want to say 2020. It's hard to take a team that we've never even seen yet. And then Right or Wrong said it's been our best team in a while. It definitely has been. That 2014 team, we had a pretty solid offense. I wouldn't say it's been our best offense. I would say 2011 was probably maybe the most fun to watch, at least offensively. That team was pretty cool. It was one of the earlier teams I remember. But yeah, 2014 overall, I feel like we had a pretty good team. And 2020, hopefully on paper, it looks all right, right? Hopefully that team does become the best of the 4. But I would say 2014 was our best chance to win a playoff game in a while, and maybe we should have won that playoff game. I don't know. you guys have anything else to add, or we're getting to the next question?
I mean, they were good in 2014, man. They had a lot of talent. They like you mentioned, they should have won the game, and that was a team that could have actually made some noise. Like that was a team I was super confident in, but we got kind of screwed over. But it is what it is.
I mean, hey, it's 2020. Weird things have happened, and the Detroit Lions making the playoffs, right?
I mean, maybe we'll have a shortened season, or we'll see how it goes. Maybe we strike some gold, and maybe we're playing for Lombardi.
Whoa! All right.
Yeah, but people would still find a way to diminish that, even if it were true.
Oh yeah.
Do you think I care?
Nah, I mean, I wouldn't care. Heck no.
Oh man, that actually made me remember when we were on your guys' show, and you guys asked that iconic question. I brought up 2014. That was, oh man. All right. So yeah, let's just get into the next question. This next one is for the 2020 season. So let's talk about the team that we have now. Who will be the Detroit Lions offense and defensive MVPs for the 2020 season? I'm going to add on to this one a little bit. I haven't told you guys this, but I think it would be interesting. Who will be the actually, no, I'll get to that in a second. We'll just answer the first question. Lions offensive and defensive MVPs for 2020. Tyler, you can have it first.
All right. So the offense, that's a good question. I think they got a lot of good, talent on the offense. Obviously, Matthew Stafford coming back. They added Deandre Swift from the draft. TJ Hockenson, who was a top 10 pick, who has a ton of potential to be a super good player. But I'll stick with Matthew Stafford. I'll stick with the quarterback. I think a lot falls on if he has a good season. I think the Lions have a good chance of being a pretty good offense again, because we saw when he was out there, at least for the first, I believe, 9 games, when they were 3-1 or 3-4-1. I don't remember the exact record, but the Lions were a top 5 offense, top 5 passing offense, should I just say. So I think it really depends on how Stafford is, and if we can open up a running game, I think Stafford will look even better. If it'll create more play actions for Matthew Stafford and more trick plays and all that. So I'll say Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Matthew Stafford. I think I've seen a couple of people say Kenny Galladay. It's hard to take Kenny Galladay, because when you lose one guy and you lose every game without him, I feel like that guy is definitely the MVP of the team. I'll throw it over to Right or Wrong next, though.
No, I mean, I definitely see where you're coming from, or I definitely see where you're coming from with Matthew Stafford. I mean, he's been the team MVP for the last 2 decades. I mean, since he's been here, pretty much, he's been the MVP every season. But I think, just to say something different, I think that I think it'll be the running backs, or one of them. I think it'll be either DeAndre Swift or Kerryon Johnson. I think if they want to be a running football team, then the running backs have to be the MVP. They have to keep everything on schedule. They have to, keep churning out yards for the quarterback. They need to keep, some of those hits off of Matthew Stafford by taking the carries themselves. And I think that they need to be the MVP if the Detroit Lions want to be successful next season.
Yeah, that's actually a good point, because the Lions do definitely want to run the ball with Darrell Bevel as offense coordinator. They showed that a little bit last year. So here was a little part I was going to kind of throw in there to get some different answers. So who will be the guy on offense and defense that is kind of like, the breakout player, the player that maybe we weren't expecting for 2020? And then we'll get back to the defensive MVP.
I'll say TJ Hockenson, man. I mean, he has to take that jump. I mean, he has to. Year 2, top 10 pick at tight end. I saw this man live in training camp, and he has the tools and potential to be that guy. So, I'm just kind of like imagining maybe adding a George Kittle or like a Travis Kelce to our offense. I'm not saying he is that, but he kind of needs to be that. When you're a top 10 pick, especially at tight end, you need to be a top 3 to top 5 tight end in the league. I mean, I don't think that's too harsh or too critical to, ask that, because it doesn't happen often. You draft the tight end in the top 10. So, I mean, we need that difference maker. We need that George Kittle, that Travis Kelce to our offense if you're drafting someone that high. So, just for Bob Quinn's sake and drafting the top 10, I'm going to say TJ Hockenson.
I like that. TJ Hockenson's a good one. What about you, Right or Wrong? Who do you think?
So I'm going to go with another first-round pick. It's not TJ Hockenson, but I think Jared Davis is going to have a good season. I mean, if you saw the pictures that he put out, he's looking really good. He bulked up a lot, put on a lot of muscle. It's a contract year. I mean, not only does Patricia and the coaching staff really like him, he's a good leader on the Detroit Lions. He's good at a lot of things. He's not so good at coverage, but he's a good run and chase linebacker. He's really good at, sideline to sideline speed. And I think that he is going to put it all together this year and have a really good season for the Detroit Lions to, probably save his job, honestly.
Okay. Do you think Jared Davis will start next season? Be one of the starters?
I don't think he'll start week 1, but I think by like middle of the season, he'll prove that he deserves his starting spot back.
Okay. Hey, that's big. Okay. Well, okay. Right or Wrong did have a little bit of a question about that. So I think we should just hop right into it now because it kind of it fits really well. So Right or Wrong brought up that Kenny Galladay and Marvin Jones Jr. are going to, I messed that way up. Kenny Galladay and Taylor Decker are both going to need contracts. Well, I guess Marvin Jones will as well, but they're going to need contracts. So, what does Jared Davis have to do to get that contract extension? Because we know the Lions did not pick up their 5th-year option. So how, what does he have to do for Lions to get back to the Detroit Lions? Right or Wrong, I'll throw it right back to you, man.
Yeah, like I said, Jared Davis has never struggled in run defense. I mean, he's a very good linebacker when it comes to tackling running backs and tracking them down. I think if Jared Davis can just show that he's taken a big step forward in coverage, if he show that he can, understand zone assignments a little bit better and just be a better coverage linebacker, I think that warrants at least some kind of an extension.
Okay. How about you, Tyler? How about you? What do you think about Jared Davis?
Yeah, I mean, he has the body to be a really good linebacker. He fits the scheme perfectly with his body type. It's just, could he put it together? It's just kind of been a mental game, it seems like, for him, just not been able, he gets lost out there and just hasn't put it together. He has the tools to put it together. He just needs to put it together. As far as Jared Davis, I'll say this, I think Taylor Decker and Kenny Galladay are more of a priority right now. I think we could see those guys potentially being re-signed by, this month. Now it's the month of July, maybe next month, before the season. I could see for sure one of those guys getting extended, especially Kenny Galladay. And I wouldn't even be shocked if they extended Taylor Decker before the season as well. For Jared Davis, obviously, if he's going to stick around with this team, it's going to have to be prudent all year this year, because they didn't pick his fifth year option, obviously. But, I don't think Jared Davis' contract, if they did want to bring him back, shouldn't be an issue with interfering with Taylor Decker and Kenny Galladay will be getting paid. Because if, let's say, Davis does have a solid year and they do want to bring him back for like another year or two, I mean, we're assuming he's not going to be getting paid too much because, I mean, it's only 1 year of, it would be only 1 year of, good football, I guess, on his resume. And it's just depending how good the football actually is from Jared Davis. So I think the number one priority is Kenny Galladay and Taylor Decker. And I think the Lions have already made that kind of their priority after letting Graham Glasgow walk. So I think they're all in for, re-signing Taylor Decker to make him the future left tackle for, the foreseeable future. And then same with Kenny Galladay, just being that, starting wide receiver for the Detroit Lions for the foreseeable future as well. And we'll just have to see what Jared Davis does this season, if they decide to keep him around for another year or two, or, if they just want to part ways, they just don't think it's going to work. And then, just let him go somewhere and maybe he can prove himself somewhere else.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because Jared Davis may not be super expensive because they did not pick up that 5th-year option. So I do agree. I think the Lions are going to, focus on Taylor Decker and Kenny Galladay, which I think they should. And if they bring back Taylor Decker, they're going to have a pretty nice foundation on that offensive line, because they're going to have that offensive line locked up, at least at both tackles. And basically really every offensive line position will be locked up. So yeah, that'll be really nice if they want to do that. So well, let's hop back to the last thing then I kind of forgot about. It's the defensive MVP. So who will be the Lions defensive MVP for the 2020 season? Yeah, you got it.
Okay. If I had to choose a defensive MVP, I'm gonna say, if for this defense to come together, it's gonna have to come from the pass rush, obviously, because I don't think the defensive backs have actually been an issue for the Detroit Lions, even though they are almost brand new with Trufant and Okudah. I don't think the defensive backs have been an issue for the Detroit Lions. I think it's been more of those guys have, had to cover guys for so long because, we're not having any pass rush. They're guarding guys for, it seems like, for a whole damn minute sometimes. So true. If you don't have a pass rush, I mean, I don't see how the results get better on defense. So for my sake, and hope this happens, I'll just throw someone from the front seven. I'll throw in Trey Flowers. He's our big money man, obviously. I'm not saying it's all going to come from him, obviously, but if this front seven is, putting some pressure on the quarterback, they're stopping the run, I think it mainly comes from Trey Flowers. I really do. So I think it just depends on what the supporting cast does. Could they help him out? Because, that was the issue last year. Trey Flowers was doing his job pretty fine, but the supporting cast wasn't helping out. And then you just double team Trey Flowers, and then it's a mess because Trey Flowers is not going to be double teams when Devon Kennard can't even shut a block on Cornelius Lucas. Like, it's just, it's not going to work. So if the supporting cast is better, which it is different, now you got Julian Aquara. We might get to see a full year of Austin Bryant. We'll see how he pans out. And then obviously we got 2 new defensive tackles in Nick Williams and Danny Shelton. Danny Shelton's not a pass rusher. Obviously he's a nose tackle. He'll be replacing Snacks. But, maybe Nick Williams, maybe he could apply some pressure from that 3-tech role, which, the last Lions player to have, I believe, 6 sacks or more from the interior was Ndamukong too. So, if Nick Williams could have a repeat of last year, we could definitely take that on this team. So, and if he's there doing that, what he did last year in Chicago, then I think Trey Flowers is going to open up, and I think he'll have a bigger sack number. I think he's going to be able to stop the run like he always has. And I think he could be the defensive MVP for this team.
I like that. I like that pick. I was thinking you go with Trey Flowers. We know the Lions don't blitz a ton, and Trey Flowers. Yeah, I don't really get the Trey Flowers hate. Like, I get he's paid a lot of money, but I still think Trey Flowers is going to be a monster for us. This guy's still really young, which is crazy. So I'm going to throw it over to Right or Wrong. Who's going to be your defensive MVP for 2020?
Okay, so I have 2 guys, and one of these guys is going to get a ton of stats. He's going to, be the leader of the defense, and one guy is going to be overshadowed just because of the position he plays. Now, I think the guy that's going to get all the stats is Jamie Collins. I mean, he's the new linebacker. I think he's going to be a leader on this defense. He can rush the passer. He can cover. He could do anything that Matt Patricia wants him to do. And I think that he's going to be a big, flashy guy that, is making plays for the Lions. But I think Danny Shelton is going to open up a lot on the defensive line. I mean, we saw when Snacks Harrison was here playing at a high level, he commanded double teams, which opened up guys like Romeo Okwara one-on-one, and he got 7.5 sacks from that. And I'm not, hating on Romeo Okwara, but he's not Trey Flowers. I mean, he's not that talented. So I think if Danny Shelton can have that Damon Snacks Harrison kind of season to command double teams, allow his edge rushers to get one-on-one, I think that, that's going to open up a ton in the pass rush game, like Tyler said. And I think that, that's going to be a big reason why the pass rush is better and why the defense as a whole gets better.
That's facts.
Well, you took both my answers, so now I don't really know what to say. All right, I'll go with something a little bit different. I'm gonna go. I'll go with the safety. I'll go with Tracy Walker. I think the safeties are really important in our defense. The guys that can move inside the box, go outside, can play man to man, can drive it to his zone. All those guys are super important that can help and run support. We saw Walker last year, 100 plus total tackles. I don't even think he played in all 16 games. He took a big step when he was asked upon to, because the Lions moving on from Quandre Diggs, they moved a lot of guys out, some injuries, and he had to step up and play well. And he did last season. He played pretty well. And I think, this guy's super young as well. And with the addition of Duron Harmon, I just think he gets even better. And yeah, that's like my 4th option. But hey, I'll rock with it. So
that's good.
I like those answers. Those were all good answers. I like those a lot.
Tracy's a good answer, man. I like that one a lot, actually. And you're right, man, because he's going to go into that strong safety spot. And I like him at that strong safety spot, and having kind of Duron Harmon play like that center field role, that free safety role, kind of like what we had in Glover Quinn a couple of years ago. So I think Tracy Walker now is going to be playing in his best position, which is great. So I could see that, man. And Tracy could have a really good year.
I like that. Hey, okay. So we'll do. I got a couple of questions that I thought of while we were doing this, but we'll go on to the last one. I think this is the last one that we do have, and this is: what was your favorite Detroit Lions game ever? Whether you've been there, you weren't there, maybe you missed the game. I don't know. What was your favorite Detroit Lions game ever? Tyler, I'll start it off with you.
2016, Week 9 versus the Minnesota Vikings. Golden Tate flip into the end zone where he stiff-armed Harrison Smith, and then I checked his Wikipedia after, and they listed him as dead. So, and then I listened to the radio audio like around it was nighttime. It was after the game, and it was Dan Miller going Stafford to Tate 10, 15, stiff-arm Harrison Smith. Yeah. Pack the bags, start the plane, because this game is over. It is over. What a comeback by the Lions. And that was just an unreal game. Overtime, I love that game. That's my favorite game of all time.
Yo, Dan Miller is an absolute legend, man. I love Dan Miller. It just makes every game better. I'm telling you, he could announce you eating cereal. It's going to sound good. You're going to be hyped.
100%.
I'll throw it over to Right or Wrong, man. What's your favorite Lions game ever?
I mean, there's a lot of them. I think I'm gonna go with the one that I went to last year, which was us versus the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, this game was high scoring, high flying. There's a lot of big plays, and it was just fun to watch. I know the Detroit Lions lost that game, but I mean, they competed for 4 quarters against the Super Bowl champions, and that was just such a fun game to go to and watch.
Yeah, that was a heck of a game. I'm so mad we lost that game still. That game was,
Oh my god,
we played so well, bro. I remember how happy and optimistic people were even after that loss. Like people were like, oh, that was the best loss we've ever had.
Yep,
So
right.
hey, man, that's hey, but that show, hey, we may be closer. We may be kind of close. I gotta go with the Lions and Falcons game from 21 down in London. I just love that one so much because I remember well, everybody thinks the game's over, but I just remember my dad coming in like near the end of the game and we kicked it. We did something. I can't remember what it was, but we were like down and my dad's like, oh, you can't settle for field goals. And then because they were about to get the first down or whatever, the Falcons were, all of a sudden they throw like a screen. And I think it was Julio. He dropped it and it stopped the clock. And then we went down and won that game. I mean, a flag moves us back. We kick it again. Like that game is crazy, man. That was wild. I never could find the highlights for that. I don't know if anybody else has that problem. I can't find the highlights for that video. I don't know why.
I actually rewatched that game when the quarantine kind of like first hit, like back in late March, early April, when NFL, they're still doing it. It was like NFL Game Pass was like offering any free game from like the last decade or whatever. You could watch any game. I rewatched that game. I love that game as well. I remember it was an early game. It was a 9:30 game in London.
Mm-hmm.
And that was fun.
And there's definitely a lot of good ones to choose from. And there's some bad ones, but there's definitely some good ones for sure. I see a couple in chat. I see I'm surprised no one said the Cowboys one. I thought someone was going to say the Cowboys one. I mean, I feel like that's a lot of people's favorites for sure.
Yeah, that was a really good game too.
Yeah, that was a really entertaining game. I kind of forgot what I was gonna. Okay, so yeah, I mean, hey, chat, fire away if you guys have any questions or anything that you guys want to ask to everybody here or anybody specifically. You guys can fire away with some comments. Anything you guys got. The one question I was gonna ask you guys that I thought of while we were doing this is, what is your favorite edition of the offseason? I don't think I've asked you guys that. I may have asked Right or Wrong. I'm not sure. So I'm gonna start off with Tyler first because I'm not sure if I asked Right or Wrong or not. Tyler, what's your favorite edition this offseason, free agency, draft, whatever it was?
For me, it's Jamie Collins. Just kind of a linebacker that does a little bit of everything, which we kind of need, and Patricia kind of needs. It's kind of a guy that will go anywhere. If you need him in the jack, he'll go in the jack. If you need him in the Sam, he'll go play in the Sam. He'll go cover. He can go to the quarterback. He can stop the run. I mean, he does everything. So, and he does that at a good level, and especially in a Patriot type scheme, because we saw him when he was in Cleveland. That obviously wasn't a great scheme fit for him, but he went back to New England for a year and he just brought back that juice and showed he's just that type of player that was meant for a New England type scheme. So, like New England, Detroit, Tennessee, Miami, New York, one of those like type teams that are at Houston, another system that kind of fits him. And that was a guy, when I looked at his numbers and I just watched him throughout the year, I said back in like February and back in January, I'm like, damn, I want Jamie Collins on my team, dude. Like, he's a free agent. He was a free agent last year, really late into the season, into the offseason, I should say. And I was kind of like cool with bringing him in for a year because we needed some more linebacker depth because he was coming off a pretty tough year from Cleveland. So I just kind of want to see maybe, he could bring that back in a Patriot type scheme. And he obviously did, went back to the Patriots, and he brought it all back and probably had his best year in his career. So I'm excited to see what he could do in the Honolulu Blue. I think he's a great addition and someone Patricia already knows, obviously. So he knows what to expect. I think he's going to have a pretty good year. So, yeah, Jamie Collins for me, man.
Yeah, that's a good one. Right or Wrong, what do you got?
Mine was Jamie Collins. I mean, and to your point, he makes so many plays for the Patriots. If you look at his highlights last year, I mean, like even some of his impressive tackles for losses get cut out because he was just getting interceptions, getting touchdowns, forcing fumbles, fumble recoveries. I mean, he was going crazy last year. But I'm gonna say Duron Harmon. And I mean, I think he's gonna bring a much needed veteran presence to the safety room. The safety room is very young. Tracy Walker's going into his 3rd season. Will Harris is going into his 2nd season. And, Tracy Walker kind of lost that veteran role model when Glover Quinn retired and they traded Quandre Diggs. So I think bringing in Duron Harmon is going to, obviously help the Detroit Lions as a team because they have that veteran safety back there that makes plays. But that's also going to help Tracy Walker because, he's going to have a guy to look up to. He's going to have a guy to bounce ideas off of, a veteran in the NFL that's been here for a long time, knows what works against these people, what doesn't work. and he's going to be able to, Jaron Harmon is going to be able to teach Tracy Walker a lot of things this season. So I think that, I think that's why that's my favorite.
Yeah, those are two really good choices. So I'm gonna go with the one that shocked me the most, and that'd be Deandre Swift. I wasn't expecting us to take Swift in the second round. I just didn't see us doing it. I like that they did it. I just didn't see us doing it, and I'm really glad we did. I did never mock this guy to Lions or anything like that. And he fell to the second round. We selected him. I think it's just big. I think it's big to try to really go out and try to fix that running game. I love it. I know Bob Quinn has came in, and that's something that he's always wanted to fix in Detroit. But he definitely showed, I think, this offseason that's something that he wants to make happen, whether it's to protect Stafford or just be better overall as a team. Because the passing game we know is there. We know they can pass the football, and having a running game to pretty much complete the offense. I just love the move. I love the move to help the offense, add another running back with Kieran Johnson, give him some competition, hopefully keep him healthy, push him for the entire season. I love it. And then the Lions, they went out, brought some new offensive linemen in. But Deandre Swift was great. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Theo Riddick with his ability to catch the ball in the backfield. So I definitely love that choice. I definitely love your guys' choices. I think Jaron Harmon's really good. Jamie Collins was my number one at first, but I'm going to go with Deandre Swift to mix it up a little bit. So yeah, that's my thoughts. You guys got any other thoughts on that, or anything else? You guys,
DeAndre Swift would have been my second option as well, because I was shocked too when they picked him. I didn't expect it. I thought he'd actually be gone before, but even if he was there, I was still kind of shocked they took him. I thought they were for sure going to go somewhere on that front seven and get some more pass rush help. But kudos to Bob Quinn, honestly, because we have criticized him in the past for kind of reaching for guys that kind of just fit his scheme or whatever. He kind of actually just went out and got best player available. And you can never criticize a GM for going best player available. And especially for, I wouldn't say it was a major need, but it was a need, the running back. I wouldn't say it was the biggest need at the time, compared to the other positions that, that we still needed to address at that point. But like I mentioned, man, if you're getting the best player available and he's one of those can't, miss prospects, and he was ranked number one running back by a lot of, analysts and scouts, I can't, criticize the pick. So, I think DeAndre Swift would be my second option as well, behind Jamie Collins.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, that's a good point that he took the best player available, because second round picks haven't been the best for us, at least with Bob Quinn. So hopefully
they've been awful.
I mean, man, it's kind of stinks. You just go back and look at it. It's like, dude, we're like losing all these top picks. They're just gone. I mean, Jared Davis, we don't know his future. Tease Tabor, Ashawn. It's been kind of a mess in the second round.
There was a first round pick, even worse.
Oh my man, yeah, it's been kind of tough. So hopefully Swift works out for us. I liked it as well. I just was kind of shocked by that one for sure. I didn't know if right or wrong. I can't remember if I asked right or wrong. Do you have anything else on that, or are you good?
I will say I've never been more excited to see an offensive lineman pick than when we picked Logan Stenberg. Like, he's the only offensive lineman that is fun to watch, because he will go straight through you and have no mercy.
Hey, that's a good point, man. You watch both offensive linemen, they talk about like the technique and stuff. You watch Logan Stenberg, bro. It's like you're really watching a truck, dude. Like, I'll take flags. I don't care. I'm running through somebody. Dude he fits right his name. That Mr. Nasty is perfect. I love it. Yes, that is a good choice.
He's like Incognito, the guy from the Raiders.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me a little bit.
Hey, man, that's the kind of guy you want on the offensive line for sure. So I kind of want to throw this in there, because I brought this up a few times. So if you threw out the Lions out of the NFC North, where would you rank the other three teams going into the 2020 season? Like, where do you guys think they sit? Who's the best team? Who's the biggest competition, I would say, to the Detroit Lions for the North title? So where would you rank those three teams? I'll throw it over to Right or Wrong first.
I think the Vikings are the most complete team outside the Detroit Lions in the North. I think that, I know they're young in the secondary, but they've proven recently that they can go to the playoffs. I don't think Kirk Cousins is a bad quarterback. I think Dalvin Cook is an elite running back, and I think that their wide receivers are solid. I think their offensive line is okay, and I think they're a very solidly built team, and I think that outside the Lions, they are the best. I think the Packers are second. I'm not a huge fan of the Packers, but I think they're much better than the Bears. I think the Bears are the worst team in the North. So it's the Vikings is first for me, and then the Packers is kind of second by default, because the Bears kind of suck.
All right. Hey, you didn't have to do the Bears like that. All right, Tyler, what do you think?
I agree. I think the Bears are last out of the three teams. The Vikings, man, I mean, They got a lot. They got a lot of improvements right now. Especially their DBs right now. They lost essentially every single corner on their roster. Their safeties are really good. Anthony Harrison Smith, obviously, but they lost Xavier Rhodes, which it's not really a loss. I used to refer to them as the roads were open, so not really a loss for them. But then they went out and lose Trey Waynes, who I thought was pretty solid, who was a pretty good cornerback too, and they lost Mackenzie Alexander also to the Cincinnati Bengals, who was also pretty solid for them. And now they're rocking with Cam Dantzler, Jeff Gladney, and they still got Mike Hughes for one of their first round picks from the league from 2018. Jeff Gladney, he's a guy I liked in the draft. It's just I don't know if he's ready to necessarily step in day one. Like, I don't think he's a Jeff Okudah who's going to play right away. And it's the toughest position, maybe besides for the quarterback position, to adjust and play in the NFL at the pro level at a high level. Unless you're a top 5 pick or like maybe even top 10, it's tough to expect those guys, to play right away and, expect them to do much, play well, I guess you could say. And Cam Dantzler, who was, I believe, a 3rd-round pick for them, another good prospect, but like to expect him to play day one outside, going against some pretty solid wide receivers, especially in the north, you look at guys, if he's the corner 2 on the outside, you're going against guys like Marvin Jones. You're going against guys like on the Bears. Yeah, I guess the wide receiver depth's not that great.
Miller's not bad though. Miller's an okay rush.
Anthony Miller's solid, and the Packers depth isn't actually not that good either. Because who is their second? Devin Funchess or Lazard? Or
Yeah.
Okay, take out the North. Never mind.
The North is really good at the top end for wide receivers, but
I guess so we play the NFC South this year. Okay, so we play the Saints. So you're gonna have to go against the guys like Emmanuel Sanders. You're gonna have to go against guys like Tampa Bay, Chris Godwin potentially. So yeah, there's good receivers. There's good 2 receivers. The North was actually an awful example besides for the Lions at the wide receiving core. But and then we have to also factor in the guy who's still free agent who could maybe still potentially go back. Everson Griffin. He was one of their biggest, their bigger impacts on the front 7. What will they do without him? So I still like this Viking team to be pretty solid. And then Delvin Cook's, fighting the contract situation right now. Will he play? We'll see how that goes. But I still think this Vikings team is pretty solid, but it's got a lot of question marks as well. So I could see them going like 10-6, or I could see them going like 7-9 or 8-8. It's just, how do these pieces, play? It's a lot of question marks, especially their defense, because they like essentially retooled a lot of guys. They kept a lot of their main crops, guys like Daniil Hunter. They obviously kept Anthony Barr, like I mentioned, Harrison Smith and Anthony Harris. So I'm interested to see how that Vikings team, works out. And then, the receiving core, Thielen, and they lost Stephon Diggs. So we'll see how Justin Jefferson is. Another prospect I liked in the pre-draft process, and I think he can be a pretty good player for them. So we'll see how that goes. Packers, I know they were 13-3 last year. I still think they're a pretty damn good team. I don't think they're 13-3 good. I think that was an overachievement. But I still think the Packers are, an 11-5, 10-6 team. A lot of people don't believe that, and I think they kind of had a weak off season, but they have a team already right now who I think is pretty solid that's just going to compete. You can't tell me right now on July 1st that the Packers are not a top 7 team in the NFC. You just can't tell me that. I think the Packers are still a pretty damn solid team. I know Rodgers looked kind of bad last year, looked declining, but they made themselves. They showed that they can run the ball, obviously, with Aaron Jones. If Rodgers is not on, that doesn't mean that it's over, because they still got a good running back in Aaron Jones. But when Rodgers is on, obviously he's got the pieces. He's got Devontae Adams, and he's going to use it. They have a rookie who I liked last year. He'll be entering year 2, Jay Sternberg for them. We'll see how Sternberg, I should say. I think he's going to be a pretty good addition to that team. So I still like this Packer teams in general. It hurts for me to say that, but I like the talent they have on their team. I think their defense is still pretty damn solid with Darius Smith and Preston Smith and Kenny Clark, obviously, in that middle, and Dean Lowry, who's like, okay. But their whole team in general is just pretty solid, and they didn't really lose much besides for Blake Martinez, and they replaced him with Christian Kirksey. And I thought Blake Martinez was kind of overrated in general, honestly, so I didn't think that was a huge loss for them. So I still think it goes Packers, Vikings, and then Chicago at number 3.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They're a pretty balanced team. I would say the only move is I guess the Rick Wagner thing. That's the only thing that I think maybe they downgrade a little bit, but they're still pretty well balanced. I always put them at last because I don't like them, But so we got Shane who has a question for Right or Wrong. He says name one trade that is the most realistic for us, which means Jamal Adams is out. Oh man, put you on the spot, man.
What? I like Joe Tootie. I mean, I know that the Patriots just signed him to a franchise tag, or they're trying to sign him to a franchise tag, but they're low on cap space. The Lions have a lot of cap space. Obviously the Detroit Lions and New England Patriot ties are pretty strong. And I mean, if they are looking to clear up cap space, the Detroit Lions need a right guard. I just feel like it's too perfect of a fit not to happen.
Okay. Hey, I saw Yannick. Is Yannick and
Yannick Ngakoue.
Yeah, him and Chris Jones. I guess those guys might be available for trade. So, hey, we'll have to wait and see what happens. I mean, those yeah. I mean, Joe Thuney's a guy that I liked in the offseason. I thought we might go after him, but then we signed Big V. So, yeah, I think hey, those are all of our questions. So, if the chat has anything that they want to ask to anybody, you guys can definitely do that. If you guys have anything else that you guys want to say or talk about, then we definitely can. I'll leave it up to you guys for that. But I'll just watch the chat, see if anything pops up, and otherwise we'll end this thing. So this has been a good show. Definitely thanks Lions Nation for coming on. He is on Instagram. If you don't know Tyler, definitely go follow him over there. And then WriterWrong, who is a new Detroit Lions YouTuber, definitely go check out him as well. He definitely puts out a lot of consistent content, so I love that. How much would Chris Jones at the DT cost? So Chris Jones would be some money for sure. Chris Jones would definitely cost some money for us. Oh, someone said that. Vikings lose Trey Waynes, Xavier Rhodes, Mackenzie Alexander, Jaron Kearse, Everson Griffin, Stephon Diggs. Do I think they got worse? I'll ask Tyler that question. Do you think the Vikings got worse this offseason?
I think there's a lot of questions. I think they did a good job filling in those holes, but like I mentioned, they're all unexperienced right now. Like I mentioned with the cornerback room specifically, they addressed it with the rookies. They didn't go out and get a vet. I mean, they still have time to go get a vet. There's still solid guys in the market right now. And I think as facilities slowly to start open, we can maybe – I wouldn't be shocked if they go out for a guy like Logan Ryan, or they go out for a guy like DeQuiz Denard or Drake Kirkpatrick. I could the cornerback class is still not bad, honestly, for free agency wise. So I could see them being one of the teams to attack one of those positions as facilities start to open up, and maybe they could get these guys physicals done and stuff like that. So, but even after that, if they do add one of those guys, I don't want to say they got worse. That's tough. I mean, I think they have the potential to be better than what they had. But I can't say today that they're better or worse. I think it's just kind of one of those teams we need to actually see what they actually do at the pro level. So, maybe year one they'll look worse than those guys because, like we mentioned, I mean, you lost so many key guys like Everson Griffin, Stephon Diggs. Who else did they lose? They lost all those corners like I mentioned, Mackenzie Alexander, Rhodes, and Trey Waynes, and Jaron Kearse, the guy that came to Detroit. So we'll see how it is. It's so many question marks, like I mentioned with the corner, with the young guys. So if they play really well, then I think anything's better than Xavier Rhodes. So I mean, we'll see. So I can't say they're better or worse. I don't know. That's a tough question.
Yeah, that's tough. There's tons of moving pieces, and it's definitely gonna be big to see what Delvin Cook does. I think that's gonna be a lot for the Minnesota Vikings. What else we have? Oh, here's a good one. I like this one. I'll throw this to both of you guys. This is like a quick little one. So they asked, does Jamal Agnew become a starting receiver? I'll ask this question. Does Jamal Agnew make the team?
No, I don't think so. I don't see a role for him at receiver or kick or punt returner. So for me, I don't even think he makes the team, honestly, let alone becoming a starting wide receiver.
I don't think he's a starting wide receiver by any means, but for Jamal Agnew to make the team, he has to show that he's still that all-pro kick returner, all-pro punt returner, and honestly, even after that, he might still not have a job. If Jason Hundley is just good enough at that role, and they could use him essentially anywhere on the offense, then I think they would prioritize a guy like Jason Hundley over a guy like Agnew because they could use him essentially anywhere. But then I think you can make the argument for Agnew as well because let's say they go into a week and some corners get hurt hypothetically in a game, and who's going to step in? I mean, at least Jamal Agnew has some experience. It's not a scenario you would like to see, obviously, but I mean, you can't throw Jason Hundley at corner,
Right.
Agnew could literally play anywhere, offense, special teams, defense. So maybe they value him more there, or maybe they'll value Jason Hundley, who could have a legit role on the offense and a legit role in the special teams. I mean, it just really depends. If Hundley is good enough and he translates to the pro level, then I think Agnew's job is really, really, really and scared right now, to see if he still makes the team. Maybe they could flip him, before the season starts, or maybe they'll just have to release him. We'll just definitely see how Hundley is, but because he's a big question mark right now. He came from a small university. He had good results there, but, could he translate to pro level? That's going to be the question. So I didn't really know much about him before the draft. I didn't know him at all, honestly. I'm not going to lie and act like I scouted Jason Hundley. I didn't know who he was. So, but from what I've seen, at least, and what I've read, at least from people who have watched him, they've talked highly about him. So it's just, could he translate to the pro level? And I think that's something we have to wait and see for.
Yeah, I like Jason Huntley. Like I said, like you said, I didn't look at him before the draft, but I like him kind of like a JD McKissick type of role. But it's tough. I mean, it's gonna be tough for Agnew because he can move back to the cornerback spot. That's pretty deep, but the wide receiver position is really deep for the Lions, and they got some guys that we've already seen on the field play wide receiver, and we kind of know what we're gonna get. So it's gonna be tough for him to make the team for sure. Man, I don't know if he makes the team. I'm hoping he does. I just don't know because I think the element would be kind of cool. The thing is, the Lions have guys that can both punt return and kick return, even if that's not Jason Huntley. I mean, we've seen Ty do it. We've seen Danny Amendola do it. I mean, so they got options. He's in a tough position for sure.
He is.
Yeah, I'll see if I got any other questions here. Stafford
I'll just say Jamal Agnew got put in like the worst position because he played cornerback. The Detroit Lions put so much capital into this, but it had so much depth that he switched to wide receiver, which is arguably even more stacked with depth. So I mean, like he picked two of the worst positions possible if he wants to make the team.
Yeah, he's not in a good spot. That's for sure. That's tough for Jamal Agnew. Hey, we'll see what he can do, man. Here's one. Okay. Stafford gets hurt. Knock on wood. Hopefully that does not happen. Does Blau play more Daniels? I like that because I think we've talked about this a little bit. I don't know. I think Chase Daniels our backup right now, but who knows if he wins the role when the season comes around. So I'll throw that to Tyler. If you got anything on that, like who do you think maybe if there's a chance that David Blau could be the backup and not Chase Daniel for the season?
I don't think there's any scenario where that happens. I think they paid Chase Daniel for the year. I think he has to be the backup. I think there was a reason why they addressed that position kind of early on. And I mean, I think they like Blau. I think they want to develop him, but as far as making him the backup next year, I don't think that's their plans right now. I think Chase Daniel has to be the guy, especially with the veteran experience. And, they can't move on from him because it's a 3-year deal. At least not this year. They can't move on from him. Maybe next year that opens up the doors a little bit more with the contract situation. But as far as this year, I think it's no doubt Chase Daniels.
Now, do you think David Blau could be a future quarterback? Could be the future quarterback for the Detroit Lions? Do you see that as a scenario?
Starting?
Yes. Anywhere down the road.
I'm going to say no. I like Blau, but he still has a lot to, improve on. He wasn't a big prospect either. He was an undrafted guy from Purdue. So there's a lot to prove with him first before I could say that. I kind of view him as a good bridge QB potentially. I think that's his role in the NFL. I think he's one of those guys that could last a while. Is a good backup, a good bridge QB for a young guy. This is later on the line, obviously in his career. I'm saying not now, but I think he could be that type of guy potentially. But as far as being the next starting quarterback for the Detroit Lions, I can't say that right now. I'd actually be pretty shocked if he was.
Hey, him beating Ohio State on its own, to me, I'm okay with him. You'll be a legend forever to me, right or wrong. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah.
I mean, I think for being an undrafted rookie free agent, I think that David Blau showed a lot of good things last year. I mean, as much as you could say that he's not the future, you can't take away from him that he stepped up when he needed to. He took over an NFL franchise as, an undrafted rookie and showed some very good things, showed some very solid things. So I don't know if he's going to be the future, but I think that he could be in Detroit for a very long time as that backup if, he chooses to stay here.
Yeah, I think I brought this up before. I feel like David Blau's best chance to make the team is if Matthew Stafford and those guys and Matt Patricia and those guys stick around for a while, because I think if once it resets, I think that way lowers his chances to make the team. But I think if it sticks like it is now, you have Matthew Stafford locked up and they can continue to groom him. So I would say that's his best chance if he wants to be the starter in Detroit is for everything, to continue where it is now and continue to get better and better. And hopefully they see something in him and it's like, hey, he can be our future. So I think that's all the questions that we do have. So I'm gonna I guess we'll wrap it up here, man. first off, like I said before, shout out to Lionsnation on Instagram. I don't know if you have any final thoughts, but I'll let you say anything if you got any final thoughts.
Appreciate you guys all listening in for this last. Oh shoot, we've been going for almost 50 minutes. Wow, that's crazy. So yeah, if you guys want to check me out, I'm on Instagram at _Lionsnation_. I actually do run a Lions podcast as well. It's called the Pride Podcast, and we kind of do some similar stuff like this. We do some fan questions. We sometimes bring out some players or some analysis, some reporters, whatever, and we do all that good stuff. We did a game show. Dion was on that. So yeah, we've done 2 episodes of that, maybe bringing that back in the future. And then obviously during the season, we do a bunch of recaps and covering the team that we'll be playing that week and all that good stuff. Kind of like what you guys do here on YouTube. So very similar stuff, but just on a podcast.
Yeah, hey, thanks for coming on. Hey, you guys might not want to watch the episode though, because I'm gonna say that one didn't go so well. Let's move it over to Right or Wrong. You got any final thoughts?
I mean, this was a lot of fun. I always enjoy doing debate tables and just talking Lions football. But if any of you guys watching this haven't subscribed to my channel, I do very similar things to Dion. A lot of Lions content I try to upload daily. So if you could go over and subscribe, that would be awesome. But thanks for having me on. I guess this was fun.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Hey, Dion, you won though, man. Dion, you won that. You won. I mean, spoiler, you won.
I won. I gave some weird answers though, and I think people were shocked.
And you guessed completely.
Yes, I completely guessed. I just threw out a random name. Oh man. Hey, I'll take it though. I did win. That's true. If you guys want to see me win, you can definitely go check out that episode. But
that was a crazy buzzer beater.
Yeah, that was clutch. Come on, man. So yeah, I guess we'll end it here then. Thank you guys for stopping in. I plan to do these maybe twice a week, Wednesday or Fridays. And if you guys ever want to come on, just let me know and we can do this. So yeah, we'll end it here. I see all the chat. Thank you guys for stopping in. And yeah, we're out.